Hello, hi gang. Welcome to this, a 3-year update. I have been a YouTuber for 3 years. I've just passed 100,000 subscribers. So let's have a little recap. What's it like running a channel like this? How has the last year been? And what are the plans for the next one? So hi everyone, hi. If you don't know me, this is a weird video to start with, but my name's Ian and I make videos about Warhammer. Mostly videos about Warhammer lore, but often videos about things related to the lore or maybe the way that lore came to be. And yeah, it seems to be going okay. As I make this, it's February 2024, 3 years after I posted my first video. And I've also recently passed 100,000 subscribers. I've actually got to 108,000 subscribers and I've just ordered that silver plaque thing. I didn't actually remember to order it. I only remember because I saw that Louise Sugden, who started her channel last year and also just went past 100,000, posted hers, and I remembered that you have to apply for the bloody things. In case you don't know how those work, you don't just get sent them when you pass a certain number of subscribers. I think it's 100,000 and then 1 million. You have to go on a website and apply, and the website checks, and it takes a few weeks after you pass before it's ready to accept the application. When I passed 100,000, I was in the middle of a desert in Saudi Arabia doing a show, so I completely forgot, and then forgot for 2 months, and just last week was reminded to actually, apply for the thing. So with any luck, that'll be up there on the wall somewhere in a few weeks. So thanks everybody. Welcome if you are new. Welcome if you've been here for the whole 3 years. It's been a weird time, and the last year has been a bit of a weird year. 2023 was great. The channel grew, but maybe not in the ways I was expecting. For me, it was a bit of a strange year. I spent the first few months flooded out of my flat. I wasn't in this room. I was on like a weird green screen, so I had to do all my videos on like a fake version of this room. And then a few months after I got back, I then went away for work. I went around the world for another 3 months. So I spent relatively little of last year in a position where I could like plan things. And so I feel like I slowed down, even though I did like 60 videos, so evidently I didn't. But those videos sort of maybe weren't exactly the ones I would have planned to release. When you're running around a lot and not able to be in the same place, you kind of end up having to do whichever videos you reckon you can get done quickly and easily, rather than like the big ones that take a lot of time. So although I did loads of videos this year and I feel like I kept up with it, there's a load of stuff I started the year before that I never got a chance to like carry on with or finish, so it feels a bit strange. Anyway, with any luck, 2024 will be a bit more stable. And despite all that, there were actually quite a lot of firsts in the year. We did our first big event in February, which was really, really nice. We did a Horus Heresy event. People came down to Warhammer World to play it. That went really, really well. I sort of had stubbornly resisted this a little bit, but because the group of players who had come to that wanted a way of keeping in touch, I then started a Discord, which is something I've been slightly avoiding. And now it's a thing where I can feel guilty that I'm not on it enough. I try and check in regularly. And then I thought, I should do the YouTuber thing. And I added a Patreon tier where people could join the Discord. And the rule is like anyone who's actually come to the event just gets added to it for free. Because it's nice to keep in touch with people. But so that's happened. And it's going really well. That's a really nice little community. A little bit more about that sort of idea of how the hell you run a Patreon later. I appeared on the painting phase at the end of the year. That was nice. I feel a bit like I'm a licensed influencer now. At the start of last year, I went on the Warhammer like send you stuff program. So I'm on the NDA and all that. And I get sent stuff, which has given me a bit of a kick to actually get some stuff painted, which is really nice. I was invited to GriffCon, the UK Games Expo, to Warhammer Fest, which was really fun. I also managed to get to loads of events just for a laugh. We did our Horus Heresy one. I went to a different Horus Heresy one out in Colchester. We played some 5th edition at Warhammer World. I went to the Sumpcon Radio's Necromunda thing. I played with Peachy there from the painting phase. And actually when we did the Horus Heresy Colchester event, I managed to meet up with Guy and Hattie from Midwinter Minis. So that was really nice. Actually, one of the nicer things, I think I've said this before, one of the nicest things of this is being able to go to all the events, meet people who watch the channel, which is always lovely, and meet other people who do this crazy thing we do. I think for a lot of people doing this, it can be quite a solitary thing to do. I'm lucky enough to have a little gang of people that I do it with, but yeah, it's nice to meet up with people who do this crazy, I guess, job. That's a bit of a contentious point, because is this a job yet? I've bumped into a few people this year who have either been surprised that I don't do this for a living, or asked if I'm doing it for a living yet, like that's the aim. And it's a weird position to be in, especially when the channel now, much to my surprise, has a bit of an income to it. 2 years ago, when I made a video after being a YouTuber for 1 year, I expressed a bit of surprise that anyone would really be able to do this properly for a living. I was wrong. This now brings in a certain amount of money from Patreon and from Google ad sales. It changes massively every month, but I'm gonna state that amount of money as being kind of like a good side hustle, if that makes sense. It's not the sort of thing I would still choose to do for a living for a few reasons. If I was like 20 and living out of London and working in retail or in a bar, which is what I used to do when I was that age, then yeah, giving up and doing YouTube would be a brilliant idea and a bit of a pay rise, and I imagine then you could devote a lot of time to it. We'll get into that in a second, how much time you choose to devote to it, and maximize whatever. And also weirdly, if I was maybe 60 and had my mortgage paid off and this was happening, weird, I know, but maybe this would be a great little retiring thing. But I'm not in that position. I'm 40 and I run a company which is actually doing really well at the minute. It's doing, we're doing okay. We're as big as we've ever been, and we're getting bigger and bigger contracts, which makes it obviously very busy. So to put it bluntly, yeah, I was wrong 2 years ago. Channel, you can do this for a living, but if I did, it would be first quite a big pay cut, and also really precarious. A huge amount of the income of a YouTube channel is down in part to Patreon, but also to Google AdSense and YouTube rates that they pay you. They can change that at any time. And I think we probably all know by now that YouTube channels tend to have a somewhat finite lifespan. And I think a lot of that affects how people do their YouTube channel. And me not doing it full time means I don't have the time and energy to spend on, I guess, doing YouTube to its maximum level, but also I don't have to because it's not my main source of income. For example, the Patreon is very, very simple and doesn't have many tiers in it. I'm constantly slightly worried that I should be doing more, but I try and keep it very simple and very cheap. If I had more time, I could put lots of tiers in and loads of bonuses and loads of extras, but then I'd have to do all that work, and I can't do that right now. On the flip side, there are some good bits, I'm not dependent on the algorithm for an income, so I can still make whatever video I like. I can also avoid a bit falling into that YouTuber trap of being really clickbaity or using really, honestly, dishonest titling and over-sensationalized video naming. Stuff that when I watch YouTube, I dislike and avoid. And I get why people do it. They're trying to, this is their job and they need to try and maximize the amount of clicks per video. But I get to not worry about that too much. Also, the videos don't have any minute and a half, 2 minute sponsorship spots in. I still get all those emails. There's a bit of me that would like to find a video format where I don't feel kind of guilty putting those in. At the moment, I don't need to take those sponsorships, so fine. Yeah, that's the weird position of running a YouTube channel at this scale when you don't do it for a full-time job. Obviously, if I did, I could maximize the channel and be around a lot more and maximize my profits. But on the plus side, I don't have to do all that, so I think the videos are better for it. I have tried to be a bit more structured about where those influences come in. It's been really nice sometimes getting sent books by Games Workshop, because then I know what I should be talking about that week. I rarely actually do a review style thing. I usually just summarize the changes in the lore, which at least keeps me up to date, but that feels a bit structured. Also, we have done a few things this year where we've tested products, or people have sent us things, and rather than making a specific video about them, that seems to work a lot more when we do our Tale of Four Gamers chats, which we've been doing all year, because all four of us can then actually chat about the product. Oh, how was it using that laser printer or that 3D printer or, whatever. Anyway, that's where we are at the moment. It's been a really weird 2023. The channel has grown. Thank you for all the support. What are the plans for 2024. So, in 2023, because of all that weirdness I said, I feel like I had started a load of ideas for series and I'd never got to finish them, and I am slightly annoyed about that. It's the sort of thing that bothers me, right? I like the idea of having like a video about every faction and not like a video about 3 and then forgetting and getting too busy to do the rest. So one of the main things I'm going to try and do in 2024 is sort of schedule a bit better and organize what videos I actually make. In 2022, I started making a series of like faction intro videos, like how does one become a Space Marine and how do they function? Just like 20 minutes on the basics. And I did 3. I did Space Marines, Astra Militarum, and Sisters of Battle. And then 2023 hit and I got really busy. I would love to carry on those. I would love to carry them on when I get sent codexes, because that's gives me an impetus to keep up, so I'd love to do those. Recently, I've gone back to doing some retrospectives of like how a faction changed over time and how it got there. I really like those videos. They're some of the first sort of videos I started doing. I'd love to like do those concurrently. Like you get a faction, you know, you get a retrospective about the Necrons and then you get a lore video about like, this is what the Necrons are. That would be quite fun. Last year, I had this idea to start a little series of, I guess, biographical videos called Horrible Heretics. The name took a lot of planning. The reasoning for that was because the year before I'd done 20 videos on all the Horus Heresy legions, and I wanted to be able to do the Primarchs, but also maybe do other things as well. So the idea of just going, right, everyone's terrible, let's just go through biographies of these individual characters. That seemed like a good idea. I've done Khan and Lionel Johnson, and I didn't get much further because of, 2023 stuff. So I'd like to continue that in no particular order with whatever comes out next. I've also got, there's a few like really big videos that have been in the back of my mind for ages that I keep on meaning to write and are just a bit too big. A while ago, I started a series of things looking at like how 40k functions as a game, like what's in it, how it's balanced and why balance works. And the culmination of that is meant to be a video about like competitive gaming and casual gaming and like what that means in Warhammer and why that's kind of a strange idea. It's one of those videos that every time I try and write it, it's almost too big, and actually the game is trying to cut it down to only talk about certain things. It's one of those subjects that you could just go into all sorts of tangents with. So that's on the cards, but I don't know when. I'd love to do a series about the warp. It's one of those things that's a bit vague in Warhammer, and rightly so, like we're not going to clear it up. But I'd love to do some videos about like what the warp actually is, like what we know about it in Warhammer, then like how it's used in the game and what the whole no gods, but there are gods, but they're not really gods thing means. Particularly like how that works with other like late 80s British sci-fi things. The obvious comparisons are things like Discworld or the work of Neil Gaiman. Like, I think that'd be an interesting thing. And from there, you could go into a video about the sort of always slightly jokey links between Warhammer and Warhammer 40k and whether they're in the same universe. All that is an interesting series, I think. I'd like to revisit the Siege of Terror. The Siege of Terror, of course, as we write this, has just finished. End of the Death Part 3's out. I wanted to do like a few videos on the Emperor's ideas, but I really wanted to wait until this book was out and until I've read it before I did that. I could also finally now do a review of the whole series, so that'll be quite fun. Mira and I have been continuing book club. We did so much book club last year, and part of the reason we did so much book club last year was because they're really quick videos to film that me and Mira can do really easily, and I was traveling a lot, so I was reading a lot of books. I think we might have to like moderate how many we do. I think we're going to try and keep to 1 a month, and maybe every other one being heresy. That might be a sensible pace. What's been really nice is that I've had a few authors on the channel. That's been lovely. And now authors have started to get in touch, which is really good. So stay tuned for more of that. I finally last year managed to do a few like campaign videos. We did the big Siege of Rax video, which took me ages to write and then about a week to edit and animate while I was working on this opera in Seattle. I'd like to do a few more of those. I want to do something on the Sabbat Worlds Crusade. I have the Anphelium project lined up. And I'd really like to do some of the heresy things, like the Siege of Chthoniya. That'd be really, really fun. And then we're continuing Tale of Four Gamers. It's been a bit of a weird whirl with our Tale of Four Gamers series because the 2 games we were wanting to do ended up being like weirdly compressed in the timeline. So at the moment we're sort of doing a free-for-all Tale of Four gamers with Old World and Legions Imperialis. But I do have a big plan for the middle of the year, which will last us through to the end of the year, new games notwithstanding, which will see us actually, probably do something quite big and participatory with a lot of events. So it's all planning right now, but I think that'll be really, really fun. In terms of actually changes to running the channel, I think much like that, the game this year is probably to try and find some regularity and some way of like balancing out the demands of work, which are heavy, and the demands of this second job. And also like life. It's interesting how much the time requirement of doing this affects how I see my job. As I said, at work we're growing, which is really good. We've got more people than ever. And so I'm trying to put myself more into a role where I don't have to do everything. Like, are we getting to the point where we can have support staff and then I'm not running around all the time? Which means I have a bit of bandwidth clear to actually structure videos. With the running of the channel, there's a few things that I think are going really well. We've started using Discord a lot more to gather all the community interaction for our Tale of Four Gamers series. That's really good because it keeps everything in the same place. Patreon is not an easy thing to use for that sort of thing. It's great for like putting out notices and telling people about early videos, but it's not great for anything that participatory. And I'm always a little bit worried about if people are paying me on a Patreon that they're getting enough for that. At the moment, all I have is a £2 and a £5 tier. The £2 is like name on the end of the video, early access to videos whenever I've finished editing them, and you can vote on things like book club when we do those votes a couple of times a year. And then the £5 is all of that, but also Discord access and participation in Tale of Four Gamers in the community updates. However, with all the moving house and clearing out over the last year, I've realized how much stuff is in the loft. And I'm seriously considering doing some sort of like monthly giveaway. That might be quite a fun thing to do. The prompt for that is actually that we did this brilliant Imperium Maledictum stream at Christmas. That was our stupid Christmas video. Really, really fun. No one's watched it. Go and watch it. I do stupid voices. It's very, very silly. Exactly as silly as I think a 40k RPG should be. One of the fun things with that is I accidentally got sent 2 of them. So the first thing I'm going to give away is that. And then there's this like idea in the back of my head of like, do I thin down all the boxes in the loft by just doing like a monthly who's interested in this on the Patreon and then send it to whoever wins the luck of the draw. I feel like that's like a fun way to like give something back without actually it taking much time, because you just put up a post and then send a box, right? I'd like to start that. I don't know when I'll get round to starting that. So yeah, that's where we are. Thanks everyone. It's been a fun few years. I will continue as ever. I hope the channel will continue to grow. Probably slowly and steadily as it has for the last 3 years. There's probably no big jumps coming, but with any luck, this year will be a little more structured, and the next time you see me, there'll be a stupid silver thing over there somewhere. Thanks for all the support. All the links to everyone who's a collaborator I've put below. I hope you have fun watching all the videos that are coming up, and yeah, see you next time.